Now, this is Donald Trump's biggest nightmare. The fascist leaders who he admires are all being cornered right now. People are rising up against them. Viktor Orbán, Donald Trump's buddy, is losing badly in the polls, and people right now are in Budapest by the tens of thousands telling Orbán to resign.
Trump is having nightmares about something he can't control. Democracy is breaking out all over Eastern Europe. His buddies Orbán and Vučić are sweating as thousands march in the streets demanding they step down. Guess what happens when authoritarians start losing power? Their friends get nervous. Trump's been watching his dictator pals get surrounded by angry citizens, and he's panicking so much he's making up stories about Venezuelan invasions. Stick around to see why this summer of democracy has Trump reaching for the antacids. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. You know what makes a tough guy dictator sweat more than a fish on a bicycle?
Let's take a look at what's going on in Belgrade, in Serbia, where Vučić, the Vučić regime, allied with Vladimir Putin there, tens of thousands, it looks like hundreds of thousands of people to me, and I think this is foreshadowing what I've said is going to happen, which I call it the summer of democracy here in the United States.
When regular folks decide they've had enough, that's exactly what's happening across Eastern Europe right now, and Trump is watching it all with his jaw on the floor and his tiny hands trembling. In Hungary, Viktor Orbán, Trump's European bromance partner, is facing an absolute nightmare. The streets of Budapest are packed with angry citizens who finally reached their breaking point. They're not just showing up for a quick protest selfie either. We're talking massive crowds that keep coming back day after day, chanting, "Orbán, get lost." His approval ratings are now lower than the quality of Trump's spray tan. The situation in Serbia is even more spectacular. President Vučić, another Putin puppet, is watching hundreds of thousands of citizens flood Belgrade streets. These protesters aren't messing around. They've been braving police intimidation for weeks now. One protest leader told reporters, "We've been silent for too long while they rob us blind." That's the kind of talk that makes dictators check if their private jets are fueled up. Georgia is following the same script, with citizens rising up against their government's cozy relationship with Putin.
Donald Trump's looking at this and he's like, am I next? Here, play this clip. While Donald Trump's fascist allies, or the axis of evil, he's trying to have America join with, as they are being cornered and facing uprisings by their people. Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, held another meeting, this time a virtual meeting of the Coalition of the Willing.
Women, students, and grandparents are standing shoulder to shoulder demanding basic rights and honest leadership. It's democracy in action, and it's spreading faster than Trump can say fake news. What's truly delicious about this whole situation is how these supposedly tough guy regimes crumble when faced with ordinary people who've simply decided they deserve better. All the propaganda machines, corrupt police, and intimidation tactics suddenly look pathetic when grandmas are brave enough to face down water cannons. Trump is definitely watching this democratic uprising between his golf swings and hamburger breaks, and you can bet your last dollar he's freaking out. This is his whole playbook getting torn apart on live TV, his authoritarian friends looking weak and desperate as citizens demand accountability.
Europe's like, you ain't gonna do that. We got Ukraine's back. We're standing up for Ukraine. Another virtual meeting was held. This follows the in-person meeting a few weeks back. The world is watching. To maintain the momentum towards a just and lasting peace, we must keep strengthening our support to Ukraine and increasing the pressure on Putin.
President Zelensky, who's with us this morning, has shown once again that Ukraine is the party of peace because he has agreed to and committed to a 30-day unconditional ceasefire.
Political analysts are calling this the summer of democracy, a wave of pro-democracy movements sweeping through countries where Trump's authoritarian buddies thought they had an iron grip. It's regular people standing up to corruption, propaganda, and power grabbing, precisely the tactics Trump has repeatedly praised and attempted to import to America. This summer of democracy isn't just happening in the streets, it's infiltrating diplomatic channels too. Zelensky just pulled off something that has Trump squirming like a worm on hot pavement. A peace move so clever, it forces Putin to either admit he never wanted peace or accept terms he can't stomach. While citizens are busy toppling strongmen with their protest signs, Ukraine's president is playing 4D chess. Zelensky agreed to a 30-day unconditional ceasefire, essentially saying to Putin, put up or shut up about wanting peace. It's the diplomatic equivalent of calling someone's bluff in poker when you know they're holding a pair of twos.
Putin is the one trying to delay. And in a sense, and you all know this, if Putin is serious about peace, it's very simple. He has to stop his barbaric attacks on Ukraine. This morning in our meeting, we can't sit back and simply wait for that to happen. We have to keep pushing ahead, pushing forward, and preparing for peace and agree to a ceasefire. And the world is watching. And my feeling is that sooner or later he's going to have to come to the table and engage in serious discussion.
Meanwhile, the UK's new Prime Minister Keir Starmer isn't wasting any time. He's assembled what they're calling a coalition of the willing with European and Canadian leaders to support Ukraine and squeeze Putin like a tube of toothpaste. And guess who didn't get an invitation to this diplomatic party? Yep, our very own Donald, I have the best words, Trump. Putin's been busy too, telling tall tales about how Russian forces have totally encircled Ukrainian troops, which Zelensky immediately shot down as propaganda meant to fool Russians back home. It's like Putin's trying to convince everyone he scored a touchdown when the game's being played on a basketball court. What's Trump doing while actual leaders are handling this crisis? He's invoked the Alien Enemies Act because he claims America is under invasion from Venezuelan gangs. That's right. While democracy is blooming across Eastern Europe, Trump's busy pointing at shadows and yelling, "Boogeyman." It's the geopolitical equivalent of faking a stomach ache to get out of a math test. Starmer summed up the serious approach when he said, "The world is watching. To maintain the momentum towards a just and lasting peace, we must keep strengthening our support to Ukraine and increasing the pressure on Putin." Meanwhile, European leaders are suggesting countries should shop for military equipment from France instead of America. Ouch. That's like your friends deciding to buy their beer from the gas station because they don't trust you to handle the cooler anymore. Zelensky put it perfectly. Russia must show its intentions for peace, and that is where the pressure must be laid. The contrast couldn't be clearer. While Zelensky and European leaders demonstrate actual diplomatic skill, Trump's foreign policy looks about as coherent as alphabet soup spilled on the floor. What's fascinating is that Americans are actually paying attention to these democracy movements. Polling shows a whole bunch of folks in the US have noticed and actually care about these protests against strongman leaders. Turns out regular Americans aren't big fans of authoritarianism either. Who knew? So while Trump sits in his gold-plated bathroom tweeting about made-up invasions, he's missing something huge. The average American is cheering for these protesters. The orange turd's worst nightmare isn't lawyers or political opponents. It's regular people everywhere deciding they're done with wannabe dictators. When Trump sees everyday citizens toppling his buddies' regimes, he must be feeling that sinking feeling in his gut, and it's not just the McDonald's. Because deep down, Donnie Diapers knows that same energy could be coming for him next. Democracy, it turns out, is contagious, and no amount of spray tan can protect you from it.